Oh, hello, and welcome to the Above Board podcast from Fathom Analytics. I am, as mostly always, Paul Jarvis, and I'm joined, as mostly always, by my co-founder, Jack Ellis. Good day, sir.
Always good in the hood.
Oh my goodness, another day, another podcast.
Did we miss? We missed a couple of weeks. I was off for a bit.
Yeah. Did we miss a couple weeks?
We definitely missed one. I know.
Yeah, I think we did. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not all that bad.
No.
Running a business also takes some time. We were just talking about that on our weekly call. The passive income of SaaS businesses is so much fucking work.
Yes, always lots of work and thinking, and it's a lifestyle. I do think that even when we take time off, you're still thinking about it.
You take time off?
So it's funny. I don't even think it's a bad thing. I think if you're thinking about stuff, right, but you're not so stressed about it. I think when you're like stressed and anxious about it, then that's not good. But if you're thinking about it, it's not a bad thing. There are plenty of things in life that I think about all the time. If I think that they're worth being in my life, think about my daughter all the time. I'm not comparing my business to my daughter, but you know what I mean?
I mean, that's why people have their best ideas like on a walk or in the shower. I think sometimes if you give your brain the space to think about things and don't force it, then sometimes the right ideas at the right time can kind of
exercise
show up.
When I get crazy ideas. Yeah,
exactly. I do think a lot when I'm biking. I don't listen to music either.
What?
When I'm
Raw Dog.
Yeah,
You've seen
just.
People
Have I seen what?
People go on flights and they say that they're raw dogging it. It's them sitting there. They sit there and they don't have any music, nothing. They just sit there.
I don't know if I could do that. Exercising 100%. I find it harder to exercise when I'm listening to music or podcast. Sitting on a plane though, and if I'm not moving, I do need a bit of stimulation for my noggin. So yeah, that would be tough. I don't know. Like I even bring back up like a small battery. I mean, when was the last time I flew? I don't even remember.
Yeah, you don't fly.
Yeah, when I'm dry. Yeah, on road trips. Yeah, definitely. Or when I'm on my private mega yacht, definitely. I'm griping about the environment from my 1,000-foot yacht.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, this is it. Actually, first thing to talk about, which I haven't included on our agenda list today. The band Oasis are now back together, which I'm incredibly excited about.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
is today going to be the day you buy tickets?
Well, they're not on sale until the end of the month, and I thought, that's going to be cool. I'll buy some tickets. Everyone's going crazy about it.
I mean, they were the biggest band for a long time.
I think I underestimated it. I haven't really heard many people talking about them, so I thought, they were big and no one really cares. No, a lot of people do care.
I mean, a lot of Gen X, I guess millennials too.
That's a band I would 100% see live. I would love to. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know about seeing bands live. It's so loud. There's so many people. I'm so old.
I saw Eminem live and it was incredible. And they brought out Dr. Dre. Oh God, it was amazing. That was at Wembley Stadium. Absolutely phenomenal.
So a lot of people.
Yeah, I haven't been to a lot of live music though. I mean, people in the UK will remember a band called N-Dubz. When I was a kid. Oh, dearie me. When I was a kid, I saw them live. But no, I haven't. I have not seen a lot of music live. I went to that, they do the ballet, Nutcracker or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've been coerced to that twice. The first one I fell asleep, and the second one I didn't quite fall asleep, but I can't do it. It just bores me to sleep. Which I know I've offended a lot of people by saying that. I'm truly sorry.
All right. If you just don't like your nuts being cracked, I get it.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
This is the Fathom Analytics podcast.
From 13-year-olds.
Let's talk about the Telegram arrest. I mean, this ties into a topic that we have. I think it's an interesting topic. So the Too Long Didn't Read appears to be that the founder CEO of Telegram, landed in France and was arrested and is being charged with a bunch of things. And they all seem to be related to, I think, not cooperating with law enforcement or the government or whatever you want to say, with regards to giving details about people sending messages and that sort of thing. And it kind of, is that right? Is that your take of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, basically he's being charged with being complicit in illegal activity.
Yeah, which is a big stretch.
I mean, so I guess I'll play the idiot. It doesn't take much. I'll play the idiot here.
Right.
If you are using an end-to-end encrypted product, then
it's not end-to-end encrypted.
But it can be.
It can be. This is the beauty.
It can be.
Yes.
But
this is the beauty. So this is where Telegram falls into an interesting category. It is more similar to a social network, arguably, and a direct messaging feature because it is not end-to-end. It's stored on their servers. If you want end-to-end with Telegram, you have to explicitly have a secret chat, which they could not get charged for. So it is a tricky area to be in. Like, what's the responsibility? Because you have the product that they're using to communicate with. End to end, I think that is essential. I think that should be allowed. You know, I'm not even talking about anything that interesting when I do end to end communication, but I still believe in having that.
Yeah. I mean, iMessage is technically, allegedly end to end.
No, you never know, do you?
Signal. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we just trust that these things. Yeah.
You can, I mean, the way you do it, I suppose, is you'd have to be confident that there are no other packets going off the device, because sure, there's the keys and everything, but what's the app itself doing?
Mm-hmm.
There are some apps, I mean, I don't know. There has to be an element of trust, I suppose.
Yeah, because it could just be like, if I was a nefarious government and I wanted to spy on citizens, I would invent something that was super privacy focused for chatting, and it would just be a huge fucking honeypot.
Is that okay? Well, I'll counter that then.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Okay, Paul. Well, you run a privacy first analytics platform. Which government agency is paying you?
Oh God, we would have a lot more money if that was the case.
That's very true. That's very true. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't know, but I do. You know, if it is a social network, I do understand the responsibility for policing illegal stuff. I'm with freedom of speech, and this is where we can get political and have some fun.
Sure.
I like freedom of speech because one of the things is it allows people to reveal their true colours, right? And I can actually get a true measure of someone. So if someone is a genuinely racist person, it's easy because then I know, right? I don't have to spend time with that person. Okay, cool. They are free to say that. I now can see that they're saying that. I appreciate I've completely avoided the fact that, you know, people of other races are now going to feel targeted and everything else, and there's clearly nuance to allowing that kind of speech. The UK doesn't allow it. Canada doesn't allow it. It seems like the US, you can.
They still have a First Amendment, so I mean, technically, but yeah,
racism's a trickier one because that's
yeah, but I guess I'm with you. Like, obviously I think racism is bad. Like, you shouldn't even have to say that out loud. It's fucking ridiculous. But like when somebody like Kanye was talking about how much he loved Hitler and the Nazis, like, I don't think he should be censored for that. Like, I want to know.
I want to know that Kanye's crazy.
Yes, exactly. Like, I want to know how somebody feels truthfully in their heart. Right? Like, I want to know this so then I can make my own informed decisions without the government being a paternalistic entity, like being patronizing, like, oh, you're not smart enough to make decisions for yourself. Right. So we're going to make these decisions for you. And then you have to trust that they are a neutral arbiter of what is good or bad. Yeah. And if you look at like the history of governments, like, they don't have the greatest track record.
The ones that are censoring stuff historically have not been the good. Okay, then. Well, let's go on. Let's let devil's advocate this thing. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, you're saying that, but now, let's imagine that I'm Jewish, right? And I'm hearing that stuff. Is there a responsibility of the law to protect me from having to hear people talk about how they loved the man who killed my ancestors or killed my relatives?
No.
Right?
No.
There's no government.
I don't. So I guess we can parse this out even further. Yeah. If somebody is saying death to Jews, that should be illegal, as that's an act. That's
absolutely,
that's a threat.
That's easy.
But if somebody's saying how much they dislike Jews because they're Jews, then that's horrible. But I want to know this, like especially if I was Jewish, I would want to know who hates me for some immutable characteristic that I have just because I was born
I can't
in a
change.
certain. Yeah, exactly. Right. So like, I think that I don't think there's any time in history where you can look back and say like, oh, the government was actually censoring. The government were good for censoring people. It's never that. Governments don't censor because they want to be good. They want to censor for control, which is really what I have a problem with.
So, okay, then this is now getting into the United States and their freedom of speech.
Yeah.
They are free to have opinions, even if they're racist and horrible, but they are not free to slander people, to libel people, and to, libel people.
Or threats, yeah.
Or threat people. That is, even though they've got... Because freedom of speech is not absolute freedom of speech. And this ties into, even with Elon Musk on Twitter.
Yeah.
I've said before, I think on the podcast, that for me, it's a love-hate. I read the human trafficking work that X is doing with my wife, and the increase in reports, and then we actually read cases about where X has helped catch a paedophile from the work they're doing. And this is one of the biggest issues we have, or not biggest issues, the biggest priorities we have when we think about politics and things is what's the government doing for human trafficking and protecting kids. So I love the work he's doing there. So he's definitely a mixed bag of things, but then he says something that I just think like, come on dude, like what are you doing? He's a mixed bag of things, but then I weigh him up with the human trafficking stuff and I go, actually I really like that they're doing that stuff. But he is a freedom of speech absolutist, right? If it complies with the law. But then what is the responsibility of social media platforms? Because Facebook have community guidelines. X still does have community guidelines, but he wants to align it more with the law. Mm-hmm.
Which I think makes sense. Like social media platforms are unelected corporations. Like, why should they be arbiters of what can and can't be said, or arbiters of truth, right?
And they can censor what they want, realistically. There's no, so here we go. We'll get into Mark Zuckerberg. He just wrote a letter to the US House or whatever it is, saying that the government at the time, I think it was the Biden government, requested that the Facebook, they basically pressured Facebook, allegedly. I guess I don't know what happened.
I mean, I don't know if it's allegedly, if the guy who runs Facebook said it.
He's come out
I don't
and
know.
said that, and they're saying they pressured them to censor people, so you couldn't have a full discourse amongst people that disagreed. COVID was a great one. I mean, everyone listening, they would have had their family disagreeing on things. Everyone I know has had like family thinking that one family member thinks this, another thinks this. Ultimately, doctors should have been able to discuss it and have complete.
Well, that's how science should work.
It should have been both sides hearing it, and then we should have strengthened the position.
Competing ideas, and the best one wins. That's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the norm. So when someone disagrees with me, I get excited. I want to hear what they've got to say. I want to hear about the person that's in love with Joe Biden. I want to hear the person that's in love with Donald Trump. I hate all politicians. I don't like any of them. But I want to hear why they are so excited. Tell me stuff. Teach me stuff. And then I can form my own opinions. I'm not going to be emotionally attached to them, but I'm going to form my own opinions. So I do like to see both sides of the discourse. But there was clearly there was censoring going on the platform. So then tie that back into Telegram. There are criminals using it. Right, let's be clear. I 100% believe there are criminals using Telegram. For
sure.
So if this communication is open, Telegram can read it and could disclose stuff. If we're going along the lens of when there are actual threats and physical violence being talked about, crimes, not opinions about like, I don't like people with black hair, or not actual. I'm not trying to equate that to. I'm trying to think of like not racist opinions and stuff, or opinions about whatever. It's not that they're talking about. They're talking about actual crimes. Is it not then his responsibility to disclose it if it's actual illegal stuff?
Well, is he responsible for how his platform's used? And if so, then that's like charging the CEO of Toyota because terrorists drive Toyota SUVs when they're doing terrorism.
No, all right, then I'll go. All right,
Like-
so I'll go. Fine, let's go with that.
Sure.
We start a platform, right? We start an image hosting platform, and people start uploading loads of child pornography, right? Wait, who's responsible for? Are we just like, oh, we don't, moderate it, and do we just let the child pornography stay online on our service?
No, because that's against the law.
But then,
And also, that's one of the main reasons why I wouldn't want to run something with user-generated
No, for
content.
then
I
that's
would
a
not
whole
want to
other-
police stuff.
that's a whole other topic that we can get
Yeah.
into about things from the past of not wanting to police written content. But
Yeah.
but okay, so then, so we would police that. I mean, Google do this, and this is really sad stuff, right? They have people that have to review that content. They often get PTSD, and there isn't enough support given. Apparently,
yeah.
Horrible job. So, to go to Telegram, one narrative I'm hearing is that it's freedom of speech. It sets a precedent for blah 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 blah. Is there not a responsibility? And I'm a mixture here. I haven't formed my opinion on this. When I talk about a lot of this stuff, I don't have hard opinions. Outside of racism is bad, obviously, but I don't have hard opinions on stuff. Should he have been doing more to cooperate with the government when there was actual law breaking going on the platform, or should it have been complete immunity because I don't read conversations? Like, so go back to the Toyota example. Like, where'd you go with that?
It's weird because I think a lot of laws that exist aren't based on how things work now. Like in the past, it was like a handful of printing press operations, like news outlets, controlled how information was disseminated. Mm-hmm. And like, it's pretty easy when it's like 10 or 11 major news outlets printing information and distributing it.
Absolutely.
But now it's everybody who has access to the internet, which is almost everybody, is basically has their own printing press. And so I don't know how something like that needs to work. I do think that I lean more towards like absolutism for censorship as well. But when it's things like you said, when it's illegal, if there is illegal stuff on Telegram servers, then I think they probably do have some responsibility for that illegal information. I don't think the CEO should have been arrested. I think it should have been probably a conversation. And
right.
like, is the company based in France? Is he French? I don't believe he is.
No, he has French citizenship and Russian citizenship.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
he's been charged for including complicity in distributing, offering, or making available pornographic images of minors in an organized group. It sounds like he's being charged with everything that's happened on his platform for like his role. But then Telegram's saying that it abides by EU laws, and it's absurd to claim that a platform, or it is from Engadget.com. Never heard of this place, but I just found it.
They're a big tech webs, like they're a big technical kind of media company.
They're saying it's absurd to claim that a platform and its owner are responsible for abuse on that platform. So I do agree with that, by the way.
Yeah.
If this is what the position is, that I don't know. Of course, you should not. If they're actually abiding by the laws, they're saying that they abide by EU laws, including the Digital Services Act. The EU's being weird at the moment. Even it was Donald Trump and Elon Musk had an interview, right? Mm-hmm. And then the EU sent out a letter, or that funny looking guy, Terry, sent a letter saying that like it shouldn't be allowed or whatever.
Which I 100% disagree with.
I don't want to misconstrue this. No, I disagree with that too. I don't want to misconstrue what I'm saying, but it was a stern letter about like misinformation in the EU, and I don't want the government to be the ones that are deciding what misinformation is and what it isn't. But this is another thing, because me and you can look at stuff and we can use a Socratic method and we can go through and work out what's real and what's propaganda and what's this and what's that. The whole point of the government saying, "Oh, this is misinformation," is, I suppose, to prevent the influence of either people that can't think or don't think. Is that like, is that a government responsibility? Basically saying you're too dumb to figure stuff out. You're too dumb to know if politicians are lying to you, which, I mean, all politicians are lying to you.
Just assume that.
Sorry, Trump fans, but Trump lies a whole bunch. And sorry, Biden fans, but they all lie. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is why I always say that both political sides hate me. I don't like any of them.
Yeah.
But all politicians lie. So then misinformation and there's an objective truth. So if someone's lying, let's say like misinformation is lying, then why aren't they allowed to say that? Why aren't they? People are allowed to lie. Well, they're not. People are allowed to lie.
Yes.
So why is that illegal, or why should that not be spread en masse? Where's the responsibility of the individual? Are we protecting kids? Is that what it is? We don't want misinformation to go to kids because kids are easily influenced.
But then what influence do kids have?
And what about
like, I don't know. There's so many problems that I have with this. The first one is this, like, that the governments, that we as citizens are allowing governments to have more power than they should have, because government censorship is like, it feels authoritarian. Even if you believe what the government is censoring is a lie, what if they do that for the opposite? Like, what if they change their mind and start censoring things you believe to be true, right? Like, I think it sets a really bad precedent. I also think governments don't censor because they're afraid of lies. I think governments censor because they're afraid of the truth, right? Like, that's what malinformation actually is. It's truthful information that's damaging to power. And I also think that misinformation isn't scary. It's just something for us to, like, discern for ourselves as people who can think.
We should do that.
Yeah. So it's only scary, like, misinformation is only scary to government. It's only scary to power. And discerning and researching and figuring out what's true is a skill that we both need to have, and it's a skill that we need to teach our children, right? So I don't want to rely on the government to make decisions for us or to tell us what's true or not, because the governments aren't neutral arbiters of truth. They never have been. They literally never have been. And you can't look back and say that, like, the people who were censoring were good guys ever. Like, if you look if you remove yourself from, like, the last 5 years and look at, like, further back in the past, like, it's never that they're censoring for good reasons. It's that they're censoring because they're trying to protect themselves. And I understand people wanting to protect themselves. I want to protect myself. But this, like, paternalistic, like, us letting the government be as, like, patronizingly paternalistic as we're letting them do is kind of fucked. And, like, I'm same as you. Like, I'm not left or right. I'm not against the left or against the right. I'm against unchecked power and poorly run systems. So basically, Western governments as they exist now, whether it's run by left or right, I honestly don't care. It's this inefficiency and this, like, paternalistic bullshit that just, it feels like it just keeps hurting citizens. And, like, I thought that the government existed to protect the citizens, right? Like, I don't care which party's in power. I care that the government continues to make the lives of, like, actual citizens better. And I don't think that that's happened in the last 5 years, 10 years, like, however many years. And there's been left and right in power in the West, and it doesn't, like, it literally doesn't matter. They're making our lives worse.
And this is it. Well, that's the beauty of it. You keep people fighting against each other.
Yeah.
So, and I talk to Democrats and I talk to Republicans. I like having a mixture in my circle, and just hearing them talk, there's a lot of warfare between them. This is like, the US politics dominate the world. Let's be real here. I mean, the UK's had a bunch of politics stuff, but US politics dominates the world. So you see it more. I'm not talking just US politics, but the propaganda is through the roof. I've kind of got it set up so I'm seeing the propaganda from both sides, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
They're taking so this is both sides doing it. They're taking little clips of the other side and they're putting it together to make them look stupid and whatever. And I don't know, there's there's values from both sides, and there's, like, I'd hate to be an American and having to vote, and this is the best you get. Every election you get. Have you watched the South Park episode, the turd sandwich and the giant douche or whatever it is?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It's like, America has so many incredible people, and you just think this is the best that can be offered. And you talk about the systems that are there. Absolutely, it's the systems that we can't just casually have someone that we would look at and go, oh, they're a good person, they're a really ethical, moral person. They can't just say, I'm going to run for president, and it's simple like that. They're going to get completely destroyed. Their family's going to get attacked. all kinds of things happen. And
well, they also need so much money. Like, in order to run for president, like, you need to have such an insane amount of financial backing, and that comes with strings. Like, how could it not?
Yeah, okay. And so both parties have all of this money, and huge fundraising amounts are done, and then it goes, oh yeah, we're against big corporations and we want people first and whatnot. No, you're not. You're taking all the money from the big corporations. No one's buying it, and both sides make out that they're doing it. It absolutely, yeah, I know, and government overreach. I mean, you know, you think about the core of our business and the whole privacy. We do talk a lot about the big tech stuff, but I guess without getting into too much detail, there are countries out there, not the States, by the way, but more maybe the States, but that are actually putting out laws that want companies to surveil various things, right? And I think our stance has been that we just don't operate in those countries. Yeah, well, I mean, we don't. We've had people talking to us. Do you comply with blah blah blah? It's like, no, we're not going to comply with that. We won't be complying with that. No. Don't support government overreach. Don't support the idea, like, you know, the social capital ideas they have. I believe in China, social score. What is it they have?
Yeah, social credit scores.
So whatever. Yeah, that sort of thing. Don't really support that. And yeah, no, you've got me. You got my brain going a little bit. I want to I want to hear more people that disagree on stuff. I mean, I always find my views aren't too strong on either side. Like, I generally believe that we should be nice to each other. We should give each other the benefit of the doubt. I think that I believe in equal opportunity. I do. I don't go to equal outcomes. I think it should be opportunities should be improved. If you're in a poor area, what can we do to produce the opportunity, or to make sure that the opportunity is there? Your parents can't afford to send you to this. Like, your parents are drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever that may be. What can we do to try and work towards equalising the opportunity? Now, clearly you're not going to equalise with people, say, in the UK going to Eton College. Right, that's a different story. I appreciate how they wouldn't do that, and that's when you get I suppose the left wing might say, well, they shouldn't exist at all. I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think that if I was in charge, it would then be, okay, well, the quality of education and the quality of I guess network, isn't it, actually saying that Eton's networking too? How could you create that? That's a tricky one, but I just make sure that the quality of education is good, and I'd make sure that nothing gets in the way of, say, a kid coming from a poor area. Nothing gets in the way of them getting a good education and getting good opportunities. That would be my obsession. So we're getting super political in this episode, but I think it's fun. I don't see any of the things we're talking about as political, as far as like, oh, this is hardcore left, this is hardcore right, this is just... No, not in that sense, but we're talking about... I mean, we both agree that
social issues, I feel.
The EU shouldn't be suppressing a discussion because they consider it misinformation. Again, like politicians...
Especially when they haven't heard it yet.
It's weird. Trump lies all the time. Like, Biden lies all the time. Anyone that thinks that the politicians aren't lying, I've got a bridge to sell you. Politicians absolutely lie all the time.
And if you don't think the politician you like is lying, then you probably haven't... You're probably too far into the dogma of that party. Like, I'm sorry to say.
That's the beauty of, I love the American news, and it's the same here, I suppose. But
yeah,
the one news station is propaganda for one party and the others, and you can just see it. The way that they talk, it's the exact same formula. And if you look at it through a marketing lens, it's just... And there's also a self-righteousness with politics. You know, some people have seen things that there's self-righteousness and also emotions tied in, because people have seen things they don't like, right? And so now anyone that doesn't think the way I do, you're my enemy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's the way to a harmonious society. I don't think that's the right way. It's not I win, you lose, and it can't be seen like that. And it's just the left versus the right in America is concerning. And it's concerning because you have the people fighting amongst each other, so they're not actually focusing on the real issues. It's just, you did this to me, or you did this, like, you're making it harder for my friend, or you did this, and it's... People need to come together and work out their differences, accept their differences, look at how they can keep their rights. You know, like there's the topic of abortion, and how do you find a middle ground on things like abortion? How do you find a middle ground on all sorts of things? And it's just learning to live with each other versus learning to just wanting to fight each other.
When half the country thinks the other half the country are like horrible people, like that. Like I can't see how that's like you said. Like that's not very harmonious.
There isn't virtue, I don't think, in anyone that disagrees with me is like a superiority complex over anyone that disagrees with me. There has to be a way forward, and when it is literally in half, like it is. What is the path forward? Is it the divisive politicians, or what do the people need to do?
Yeah, politicians don't make anything better.
But they thrive off of the divisiveness.
Yeah,
they get
sure.
their base, and then they rile their base up and everything else. It's so boring, and it's sad, really, because a lot of people in the US, they'll have a conversation, and you're a Trump fan, or you're a Biden fan, and there are serious issues on both sides.
Yeah,
I wish that we were all better at sitting down in a room and being able to constructively disagree without me shouting that you're a communist and you shouting that I'm a fascist, and actually discussing things and talking about why we believe this. Why do I believe that a woman has the right to choose and that's non-negotiable? Why don't you believe that? Or why, how does your religion view this? And, to have these conversations and not get so angry at each other and just want to label each other a fascist or a communist. I'm not trying to sing John Legend's Imagine, but I always want to be in a place where I can talk to someone who I don't even necessarily disagree with, but have a different outlook, and hear their thoughts and ideas. Like, I love it when someone can tell me, let's say love is a strong word, keep be careful by saying love, but I like hearing all the things they hate about Trump, or all the things they hate about Kamala Harris or Biden. I like hearing it. Or tell me the things you love. I heard the other day, I bumped into a Republican who was traveling, and they were talking about how Trump made, what was it? It was medical in rural areas. They introduced a subsidy so they hadn't got to travel miles and miles and miles to the city to get it from a different provider, something along these lines. And they were really grateful for that. I hear about a lot of things from just all sides, and I want to hear that. I just wish that, this is my thing to Americans, is I wish that we could find a way to discuss rather than just giving up on each other, you know?
Yeah.
I think that America's such a great country, and there is a middle ground. There has to be a middle ground.
Yeah, I think it's hard because we all get so, or a lot of us get so like insulated in our bubbles, where we think that like, you have to think this way, otherwise you're one of them. You're an other. You're like the enemy. You're the bad. Whereas it should be that we should be comfortable in the fact that people have different opinions than us or different views than us. And like you said, like, be curious about it, learn about it. Why do you feel that way? Why do you think abortion's right? Why do you think abortion's wrong? Like, learning about these things. Why do you think Trump was a great president? Why do you think Biden was a great president? Like, all of these things, like, we should want to understand why those things are true for somebody else if they're not true for us. And the more it's just like, well, you're a Nazi. It's like, okay, well, you just killed the conversation. Like, the conversation is essentially over at that point.
And I like to believe that most people are good people. I mean, I could be...
Same.
I could hate the UK Conservatives and the Democrats, because I still remember... And again, that's right-wing party and a left-wing party, right? I still remember the vote in the UK to bomb Libya. I remember them saying that they're going to do it. And it was going to be kids dying. Kids just living their lives, loved by their parents, just getting bombed. And I just remember sitting there, and this is before I had a kid, and I just remember sitting there and thinking, you fucking are... like, and that, I could just sit with that and just hate those parties forever. Obama, I believe it was Obama. Sorry, I'm not Mr. Politics, but I believe it was Obama. I know it was a conservative government in the UK. And I could just hate them forever and hate the Democrats forever. And I don't vote anyway, but I could have that point of view. But I think, like, fuck, I understand. Yeah, it's... I don't know, man. The world is rough. It definitely, it gets me down. I do understand why people are emotional about stuff. There's been so much chaos throughout history. You know, I come from the UK, and the UK has, the UK has generations and generations of murder, torture, horrible rape, horrible things.
Yeah.
And you know, somehow they moved on and kept going, and things got better. And I suppose, is that you make it better for the next generation, and that's all you can do. And because it's not even, I can't even say, people make mistakes and we learn and we get better, but it's like, you bombed another country, you bombed kids, you bombed innocent kids. And again, but then again, look at World War II, right? Germany was bombing London, and lots of kids were dead. My nan
Yeah.
got shot at out of a plane. I still remember this story. There was tons of stuff. Look at the Nanking massacre. There's atrocities throughout history. There's awful things that have happened, and we move on because we believe that there's a future that is better, and we don't minimize what's happened in the past. And we do have remembrance days, and we do show remorse, but we move on because we can make things better still, and we can learn.
I guess my question is, and I don't even know the answer to this, like, is that just human nature? Like, are we just tribalist shitheads? And like, we keep thinking we're going to learn, and then we just don't fucking learn.
It gets to a boiling point, and then a bunch of innocent people get... Dude, I look at you. I had to stop watching. I was watching the videos from Ukraine, and I know that there's a bunch of mechanics going on there, and I think no one's going to justify Putin's invasion into Ukraine, but you can sort of look at the lead up to all of it and the geopolitical setup, let's say. And I watch the videos in Ukraine, and I watch it breaks my heart. And so it's still happening. War is still happening over and over and over.
Yep.
And then we just
but like, is that just human nature? Like I said, is that just human nature? Like, are we just pretending we're not tribalist shitheads, and they're just being tribalist shitheads still?
God, when you actually think about the amount of suffering, being a big downer, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this stuff is still happening, and then it definitely puts things into perspective and makes you think. But no, I do think that we move forward by caring for each other. It sounds like a John Lennon.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that, but I think we've got to care more, even if we think the other person is problematic or rude, or we've got to work to find some common ground, because being angry at each other is not the way for, even in Canada, dude. Like, look,
Yeah.
I despise our current Prime Minister, but I don't think too highly of the Conservative leader either.
Yeah.
But it's just, that doesn't mean that I think that every Conservative is X and every Liberal is Y. I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to try and form, bonds, and try and establish understanding, empathize with them if they're having struggles, or their family or friends are having struggles in society because perhaps the government is doing something or not allowing something. I'm going to have empathy. Absolutely. I'm going to try and learn. But I think we need to put hate behind us. I do. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it too is not even like some altruistic, like, imagined bullshit. I think the division and divisiveness is on purpose, because then that means power keeps power, right? Like, if we're fighting amongst ourselves, we're not fighting for like injustice in the system, which bothers me. Like, I don't even need to be a good person to know that we should stop fighting with each other and start fighting unchecked power. So,
yeah.
And the other thing too, I guess, the way that I parse what you were just saying is, if somebody truly feels a certain way, like deep in their core about an issue, then I want to understand that, versus
Absolutely.
if somebody is parroting what they heard on fucking mainstream media.
Oh man, yeah.
Because like, if you ask like, how do you feel about this, and somebody gives an answer, and then you just ask one level deeper and there isn't an answer, it's like, do you what do you actually believe? Because like, I am actually curious, like, what the fuck you actually believe, instead of just like parroting talking points of the people you have faith in, like the dogma you subscribe to politically.
I completely agree. I completely, with all my heart, agree.
Because that, like, I don't want to have those conversations with people who are just going to parrot what like their tribe kind of thing.
And both sides of the US tribe I've seen do this. They parrot, or they'll say something that they're, and I read something funny. It was, if you idolize a politician, it's like thinking the stripper in the strip club loves you. It is absolutely true. Just parroting what they think versus actually critically evaluating it and thinking about it yourself. Big difference.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I'd like to see America, and I don't think it's a Trump. I think the Republicans have always had some. I was even talking to an ex-Marine the other day, and he was talking about how he was hated in the 70s. Like, he'd be in San Francisco and they'd be calling him a baby killer, and there's always been levels of divide. Yeah. And I think that it's important to criticize each other's views, or sorry, not even that, just to discuss the views, be critical where it's needed. And if I say something that is out of order, you should be able to question me, and we should have a debate.
Well, yeah, I want to understand why you feel that, and why I think that is an out of order thought. Right.
And I think that's really, and that's how we get better. So that's just it. Another thing too, I will be friends with people like that, the people that make me better. I'm not friends with people that are looking to judge me and to sort of virtue signal.
Same.
I've talked like the guy Phil Sturgeon, really into climate and the environment.
Yeah.
He is on another level with the stuff he does, right? In terms of minimizing all his stuff. He talks to you, but he doesn't judge or act like all superior, and he actually will share what he's learned and what he thinks and everything else. And it's the biggest breath of fresh air after some of the climate protesters I've seen, because I don't think if I come up to someone, Republican, left or right, and I say I wish the air could be cleaner in the cities, and I wish we could look at maybe reducing pollution in the cities to make it so that we're breathing better air, and it's that, like, we start with that, everyone's going to agree. Like when you come on and you talk to people like they're humans, and you don't just, I don't know, try and block the motorway or whatever and stop people from getting to funerals and what have you, people are receptive. Like when you talk to people like normal people, they're receptive. I do believe that. Judgment
and shame doesn't work for changing people's minds. Like it never has. It just doesn't work.
When I came to your house, you gave me this vegan burger. I was like, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. And it was very similar to like a beef burger. And it wasn't you going, oh, you animal murderer, you fucker. Like,
that's just what I literally had in my fridge, and we were hungry.
So, but that's it. And then I was actually like, okay, so, well, you single-handedly changed my view about vegans. I had a very, and this was like a long time ago, I've known you so long now, but it was just that vegans were not shut up about being vegan, and they're just all over the place with that stuff. And you single-handedly changed that, because we just like had a normal conversation. Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually, okay, sure, I'll try what you've got. And it was like, oh, that's actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
That's how we move forward, I think, with disagreement.
Yep.
All I know is that it can't just be a state of hatred. It cannot be a state of hatred. That is not sustainable.
No.
And I'm not the most political person. I don't have all the solutions, and I don't all the right opinions or all the right ideas. I know I don't. And this has been a fun conversation, because it's been like a struggle. It's been like, get your thoughts together and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the basis just hating each other is sustainable and is going to work. And focusing on all of our differences and all of the reasons we should hate each other, and all the way that another group is responsible for all of our problems, right? You see that with immigration. Like, even illegal immigration is a different topic. It absolutely is. But legal immigration, oh, this group here is responsible for this. It's like, really? So now you're going to make their life shit when they come here the legal way and they haven't done anything wrong. They are here legally. I'm not talking about the illegal immigration. That's a different story. I believe that it should be I went through a legal process to come to Canada. I absolutely believe that that's how it should be. It should be done. But yeah, don't like. And so it's like, oh, okay, so now it's their fault because they're Muslim, or it's their fault because they're Jewish, or whatever. Like, don't do that. Like, don't just try and then they're just, no one thinks about them either. It's like, yeah, I don't like this. Just, we're fighting amongst each other, and it needs to stop. And if this podcast has helped anyone just think about that, then that's great. And if anyone wants to, if you're a friend of mine or you know me and you got some thoughts on this episode, then feel free to drop me a line. And I hope that the US over time stops hating each other so much. I'd love to see it.
Because that, I think, ripple through the rest of the Western world. The US, whether we like it or not, has a lot of sway in how the rest of the Western world works. It always has. This was the first democracy, kind of. Or the first Western democracy, I guess, maybe at like a large scale. Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of my friends listen to this podcast, so I would say the same thing, but I literally don't think anybody that I know in real life listens to this.
I got like certain people who got me on, like, I know their political leanings, and it would be good just to hear their thoughts on where the US is heading, and if it could, what would be done to fix it. And
I talk about this all day with all my friends anyway, so.
Yeah. But I know I've got people that will be voting for Democrat, and I know I've got people that will be
same,
reluctantly but also excitedly voting Republican. I got a mix of people, and like that's how I want my life to be.
Yep.
No judgmental people though, only nice people that, you know.
Yeah.
All right, man. I mean, this was good. You know, we went political, but this still had a lot of ties to, you know, privacy and Telegram and things like that. Oh, yep. I suppose we should talk about Fathom.
We could, I guess. I mean, we're 45 minutes in. We could do a quick update. All right,
we'll do a brief update. We have just finished I had a couple weeks break. My wife had a vacation. I was solo parenting, which was wonderful. Spent a lot of time with my daughter. we are now headed up to do a big project. We nearly accidentally, well, we're literally number 4, only one project at a time. And I started the conversation with, let's do teams alongside. We are just constructively using our time to do one big project. But what is actually come to is we've got a couple small projects, one of them being the reverse proxy, and then some CDN stuff. Like, I don't want to talk too much about it at the moment, Paul, but we've got a couple things that customers have been dying for, and we're going to be shipping those away and getting those out, and then we're going to be moving on to some data stuff, and we'll continue with Teams in there at some point. But I just, Teams is a really important feature and everything, and a lot of people want that, but just people want more from the data, and we can deliver that, and we just need to get on top of that. So we're going to see how much we can do in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. Maximum project length is 1 month. I love this thing you did, by the way. This board's in front of me, and you start talking and your eyes drift up and you go, oh yeah.
Maximum, we have, 5 rules?
Yeah.
Maximum project length is 1 month. Do small niggles between projects. Start with a clear spec, only one project at a time, and everybody is responsible for enforcing these rules at all times.
So, yes, we nearly missed number 4, but we got it back. And then the clear spec will be interesting because I have to think of a clear spec for the project we're going to start. Doing a bit of pairing and niggles between projects. The niggles between projects is sort of dead. We're going to wrap up a few things, which is going to be great.
But we have been doing that. We have been getting things out date range exports we just launched. And that sort of thing. And that's kind of what I meant by the small niggles between projects, is getting these little things that are just quality of life things for customers and even for us too. Like having data exports by month helps customers, but it also helps us because each export isn't as big as it as like the total data. So
yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So,
this was an interesting episode.
It was. I guess, let us know what you think.
Episode title is Jack and Paul don't really know lots, but talk about it and don't judge each other and
yes, and listen to John Lennon.
Dear.
All right, dude, I think we can wrap it up. If you listened this far, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you again in a couple weeks' time. Cheers.